Mr. Chairperson, Excellencies, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to address this African Business Forum on the strategic issue of making carbon markets work for Africa. At the very outset, I would like to thank the ECA and Afreximbank for inviting the government of the Republic of Malawi to this important forum. Mr. Chairperson, undoubtedly, carbon pricing and regional market development are a win-win game. They allow investors to generate and trade carbon credits and earn significant returns from their investments, which can be used to expand business operations in the regional and global value chains and create decent jobs. In my view, the initiatives currently underway across Africa should be scaled up, which is the reason why we should be pushing aggressively for the failures in the global carbon market governance to be addressed. The most important notable of these is the lack of consensus on a fair price for carbon. Industrial carbon, mainly from the developed world, is sold for high prices, amounting to over $40 per ton of carbon, whereas the forest carbon that abounds in African land and water ecosystems is consistently priced cheaply, as low as $5 a ton. I consider this to be unfair, a continuation of the neo-colonial legacy of robbing Africa in broad daylight by stripping us of any selling power so that we are always at the mercy of the charity of the global North. This legacy is perverse and must be rejected with extreme prejudice. In the case of Malawi, we have vast land resources, including mountains covered by forests occupying about 35%, or about 3,237,000 hectares of our land area. Our freshwater resources cover 21% of our land area and include Lake Malawi, which is the third largest freshwater lake in Africa. We also have solar radiation levels that are amongst the highest in the world, thus making Malawi a great candidate for solar energy development. Doing so would reduce the dependency of communities on fossil fuels, thus further curbing the rate of deforestation and land degradation. Similarly, our hydropower generation potential is also significant, as we currently have a number of bankable hydropower projects, such as Colombizo, Lower Fufu, Mpatamanga, and Songwe, which could generate over 1,000 megawatts. A fair pricing mechanism for our carbon credits is critical for us to raise the resources necessary to invest in the development of these sources of clean energy. Additionally, this pricing incentive to reduce emissions from deforestation and forest degradation through programs like reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, REDD+, for example, would allow Malawi to address one of the main drivers of carbon emissions, deforestation and land degradation. It would also allow the hydrological profile of water resources and overall water cycles to be significantly improved as water and forest ecosystems interact strongly. And similarly, loss of habitats for wildlife, which significantly affects the revenues from tourism, would significantly be curbed, and fisheries productivity would improve. It is because of these and other benefits that Malawi is pursuing the development of mega farms, an initiative that has identified over 68,000 hectares of agricultural land, with farm sizes ranging from 100 to 24,000 hectares. These farms are available to prospective investors for various agricultural production and value chains such as legumes, fisheries, aquaculture, ranching, and forestry, among others. In that context, we know that Malawi has a lot of potential for carbon trading, with a total of over 1 million hectares of designated forest reserves, including both exotic and indigenous trees, and over 1 million hectares of land under wildlife conservation parks and reserves. Using the prevailing global market prices, the value of Malawi's forest-based carbon credits is estimated at over 19 million metric tons of carbon per annum, valued at over $600 million per annum. By all accounts, Malawi is a gold mine for prospective investors in our carbon market. The global interest in our carbon market is already rising, but we are eager to see even greater interest, which is why I have provided specific detailed prospectus for this market to aid your further engagement. As a member of the Steering Committee of the African Carbon Market Initiative, ACMI, which I helped to launch at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, we are actively pursuing that scaling up of our carbon credit production via voluntary carbon market activation plans. But, Mr. Chairperson, the playing field must be leveled. And toward that end, I, speaking on behalf of Malawi, wish to advance the following positions for your consideration. We strongly encourage the innovative instruments developed by ACA to support African regional carbon markets. We urge ECA, AU, and Afreximbank to accelerate their plans to develop an African carbon market building from the regional carbon registry and harmonized protocol for carbon accounting. We demand that ECA, AU, and Afreximbank should also explore the feasibility of building a compliant carbon market in certain African countries, particularly those which have the potential to generate carbon emissions from the extractive industries. We also call on ECA, AU, and Afreximbank to ensure that the development and deployment of such compliance markets and carbon taxes are informed by good science. Specifically, because the contribution to climate change by Africa is thus very negligible, the move to the compliance market must be done slowly to account for the differences in levels of emission between countries in the global north and global south. We encourage the business executives and partners to work very closely with ECA, Afreximbank, African Development Bank, and ACMI to facilitate the sale of quality credits without making the sales cheap. We urge business executives and partners to also help African countries build local capacities to develop and implement emission reduction projects that generate quality credits. I thank you very much for your attention.